To the committee for asking me to speak. I feel like it's an honor to speak at my home group. I was talking with someone, I don't know, maybe last month, and I realized that I've been at this home group for 12 years, and I used to not stay anywhere. Well, I did if you had alcohol and drugs. So. Anyway. But yeah, I love this group. That's why I stay, even when I have challenges, and I just stay, I stay in my seat and try to just be the best home group member I can be, what I can bring to it and be of service. So that's what I've learned over the years. And then also Kent kind of gets you too. So, got to throw that one in there. But I just love you, Kent. So Kent's the big reason why I came to Love and Service, and him and my husband's sponsor. And we used to come, and then I just would come every Sunday, and then I've been showing up ever since. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I feel like this is the best home group ever. And so, yeah, so my sobriety date is March 8th, 2004. My home group's Love and Service. And, I think about over the last 21 years, that's been a long time for me, to be sober, a lot of life. I've been sober longer than I drank now, which is like, wow, that's interesting. But also I feel like, oh my gosh, like right now, I feel like I'm going through this growth spurt about learning more about myself, like more is being revealed. And I'll share about that a little bit later too, because of a situation that happened in my life. And so, my family has alcoholism on both sides of my family, and it hasn't skipped a generation. I feel like there's a genetic component to it in my family. I'm grateful that I have a cousin that is sober in the rooms, and I have my niece also. They have found their way. And that, hopefully if someone else in my family wants to get sober, that they know that AA is a way of life. AAs can help you. And so I never knew that I'd have the life that I have today. I never knew that there was a way out like there is in AA. Part of my disease is I'm really not that bad, even though I am that bad, because the thing about it is that, in my family, like I came from a family, you guys, my mom and dad, they're wonderful people. And I have a younger sister, and we never went without. Like, my sister and I were talking about this since my mom passed away. It's like, we never went without. Like, my parents worked hard. They gave us a roof over our heads. We had an education. My dad hit me once in my lifetime. I wasn't beaten, molested. We had food. There wasn't really violence in my home. My dad was yelling a lot, but that was because when he wasn't drinking, he was nicer when he drank. And my mom was just like, just let it go in one ear and out the other, And so for me, I'm grateful for the parents I had, and they instilled in me a lot of good things, and they did the best they could, they really did. They were alcoholics, and, like I said, the generational thing in alcoholism in my family. And so I have a lot more I have forgiveness and gratitude for my family, especially my parents now, because I used to have a lot of resentment and all that icky stuff that I came into AA with. And now I really don't, and I really miss my parents too. So, drinking, like it was, my parents partied, and it wasn't, I thought everybody's family was the way it was, like whatever. And for me, I always, I think about it, the disease was in me before I even picked up a drink. I was always scared of people. I could never have more than one friend. I didn't know how to manage I was socially awkward. I was always trying to be perfect. There was all these things, I liked a lot of sugar. I used to steal Twinkies from my neighbor's house. Because my mom, she wouldn't buy it for us. Whatever. Anyway, and so it was just, I don't know, it was awkward for me. So when I took my first drink, like my first drunk was like, I didn't have one drink. I just got drunk. Like I felt like that was like, oh my God, I've arrived, it was like I could be social. I was 13 years old, we had moved to Brentwood and I was just started high school, ninth grade, and I was with people at a house party. I drank all this vodka, came home, I was puking past curfew, and I was lying to my mom. Like, she's like, you've been drinking? I'm like, no, someone might have put something in my drink. And I was just like, and so my dad's like, yeah, right. And so, I didn't really drink until like I was about 17. I went through high school. At 17, I started to drink. It was right after high school. It was August of 1984. I started drinking and I started using speed. And that was like magic for me because I lost weight because I've always been heavy and awkward. And I was like, I have arrived. I feel like I'm one amongst many here, like I can be. And, that was the beginning of it for me. And, through the years of drinking and using and, I had a lot of fun. My favorite bar to drink at is the Boathouse on Bethel Island. And it's not open anymore. I did go out there because my friend has a daughter who lives down the street. So, but yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun partying like in the late 80s and 90s. And, but then I remember getting a DUI and I think I was 24 years old and I was sentenced to AA. That was my first time. And I didn't think I had a problem, you guys. I think I just had bad luck, to be honest. I was at the wrong place, wrong time. I'd been up for a couple nights. I've been drinking nonstop. And, so I went to AA. It was the year that the fellowship moved down on Market Street. So I went to the Concord Fellowship and the Alano Club in Martinez and got my little card signed. And I remember seeing the word God in the steps and the traditions. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here. Like I had this notion that AA was, after that AA was a religious organization and I wasn't having it. And the truth be told is that I wasn't ready to get sober, and I did my alcohol classes and I forged the other 5 on the card and my bartender did one. And I was like, they're not going to know it's Alcoholics Anonymous. And so it's like I had to make amends for that. And so, did community service and did my thing. And it was like, okay. And I remember it was like, I tried to be more careful when I was driving, but it was like, forget it. Who cares? I drove drunk all the time. Who cares? And I just got lucky, to be really honest. And I, through the years, it was like I tried to get sober when I was 27 because I was really deep into drugs. And then I did it for my family. And I went to New Connections out in Concord. And, they tried to teach me and I wasn't listening. My ears weren't open to listen. I wasn't ready to be sober. I was doing it for my family. They were worried about me. And, instead of trying to like come into the fellowship or anything, like I went and like I got a job. Like I was able to get a good job. I became a restaurant manager, climbed the corporate ladder, did all this stuff, moved around. Like that's my solution, and I eventually, I was dry for a little while and eventually something happens and I just start drinking. I go back out to what I know best. I go back out to Bethel Island, I'm drinking. And then 3 days later, generally that's what happens. So, and my life was like that for a long time. And what happened for me and how I got sober was, the gig was up. It was hard for me. My speed addiction drove me down and I'm grateful for that. I was a mess and, it was no longer fun, and I had, the law after me, the IRS. I worked for a grocery store and this was like a God shot for me was I just got my benefits. And at 10 months, I'd worked there 10 months and I just got my benefits and I called, because because I said, I need help. Like, I can't live this way anymore. And I told my cousin Shelly, I said, I can't do this anymore. And she said, wait a minute, let's talk about this. And let's sit down, let's talk, because you're really not that bad. And she was comparing me to her sister, my cousin Tracy, who was living in a tent at the Pittsburgh Marina. And God bless them both. They're no longer alive because of the disease. Tracy passed away in that tent. I was about 2 years sober, and Shelly passed away, it was 6 years ago Friday, from her opiate addiction. And so it's like, it's not a joke, my heart really goes out to my aunt, and it was just that moment where I had a voice that said, you are that bad. And, I called the union the next day and they said, you can go away if you want. And I said, okay. And I went to Azure Acres in Sebastopol for 28 days. And, that's where my journey began. I will tell you, I think my first surrender and my first moment of honesty in a very long time is I went and talked to my manager. And I just said, I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to treatment. And she's like, okay, Tanya, well, your job will be here for you, and we want you to get better. You're not the first and won't be the last, and we wish you well. And I'm like, okay, but it was like this weight off my shoulders. I was thinking about that. And so for me, I went up to Azure Acres. It was a Monday morning, March 8th. Excuse me, I'm sweating because I'm nervous. Or I'm having a hot flash. I don't know, one of the two. Anyway, moving on. And so for me, I went up there and I was just like, I'm done. I'm waving the white flag. I'm out. And people were laughing and smoking and everything. And I didn't have a hard detox, to be really honest. Thank you, Paula. But for me, what happened was, I did listen, I listened to what they were talking about and how they were explaining the disease, it's a mental obsession, a physical allergy, and I didn't know that, It was like a epiphany that happened, like, no wonder why I can't have one drink. I mean, you guys, I've never had one drink. My intention is to, I've never crossed the line. I just blew through into my alcoholism. That's how it is. My intention is to have one drink 3 days later. That's how it works for me. One goes with the other, and I love to drink, If I thought I could drink without the drugs, I'd probably do it, but I know I can't. I'm grateful that I recognized that. I faced that and, admitted that when I was in treatment. And I learned about that. And for me, the obsession was lifted for me sometime during the first 30 days of sobriety. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know any of that, but I was like, oh my God, what a miracle for me. And I know people struggle. I want to welcome our newcomers, and I hope you stay. I hope I say something that will help you or give you some hope, I also, I learned, that's where they start talking about the steps. We got a service commitment. Every week we rotated, and we did prayer and meditation in the morning, read out the big book, tried to be quiet. I was thinking about this. We'd all sit, there was, I think, 28 of us in there, and we'd all sit there trying to be quiet, and then someone would start giggling. We'd have the giggles at like 6:30 in the morning, and then it all stemmed. It was funny, we were just happy too, because most of us have been detoxing, and we found some levity around it. And so, I learned those things, some of the things about those steps they practice there. And so, I left there. It was a Monday. My mom came and picked me up. And the last thing my counselor said to me, Tanya, you need to change your playmates, your playgrounds, and your playthings. That means you can't go back out to Bethel Island. Those people are not your friends, and you will die. And I was like, okay. And I really listened to that, and they gave me a lot of suggestions, and I moved into a sober living home, and I just started my life over, you guys. I had to learn how to have a different life. My life had been taken by me, self-will run riot for so long, and I had a lot of baggage with me. And, I had lost my relationship with my family first and foremost. Like the only reason why I kept my job is because I went to rehab. They were probably going to fire me. Um, I wasn't showing up to work very often. And so, there was that, like I said, the law was after me. I owed the IRS. Oh God, that took me forever. But I'm free from them now. I will never be in trouble with them ever again. And there was a lot of things, just this shame, remorse, and guilt, that I had about my behavior, what I did to people. And it was like coming at me, and I was feeling like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But I do know I wanted a different life. I was desperate to stay sober. I was more desperate to stay sober than to pick up, to be really honest. And I listened to what they had to say, and I went to that sober living house, and I had to do certain things. I had to go to a meeting every day. I had to get a sponsor. We had to check in every night, come home past curfew, make your bed. I was like, what? And, just I learned how to live again, you guys. And, as the time had gone on, I got a sponsor and I was working the steps. And I'll be honest, from then until now, like a lot of life has happened as we stay sober and life happens and we feel our feelings. And I'm grateful that I went through the steps. Thank you, Paula. And, I've had numerous spiritual awakenings. At 3 years, I didn't do my amends, and I got a new sponsor, and she guided me and said, you need to do your amends, Tanya. You're going to drink. And I was like, okay. It was that jumping off point for me. And I did my amends, and I'm grateful for that because it forever changed my recovery. And I wouldn't be standing here today if I hadn't listened to her. And I've been guided by 2 women in this program that have really have been honest with me. They were more worried about me and not my feelings, telling me the truth and not worried about my feelings. And, they were the first 2 women I had an honest relationship with. There's a thing in the 12 by 12 that says we have the inability to form a true partnership with another human being, and that's me to the core. And so to do that and spill my whole life and tell them everything, I learned how to have a relationship with another person, and it happened to be my sponsors, and as time's gone on, I've worked on that with other people, my husband and, people in my life. It still doesn't come easy for me. But I will tell you, as life, sobriety continued and life happens. At 9 years, my dad passed away. And that was when I came to this group shortly after there. And I really started focusing on my prayer and meditation and my relationship with God. It's where I had a friend tell me, Tanya, should be your most important relationship. And it hadn't been, because I was still focusing on the external things, the money, property, and prestige, how that was going to fill the hole in my soul to make me feel good, where I needed to be seeking God. And, that changed my life. That really did. I really dove in and did a lot of step work, and really, I've found it that I really try to put a lot of time into that every day, and seek God the first thing before I even pick up the phone or do something, pause. And, I'll fast forward a little bit that, this past year has been the hardest year of my sobriety. Okay, try not to cry. But some of you know that my mom passed away last August. And it was a gift that I got to be there for her. It was really a gift because I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. I really didn't. We were like oil and water. I was closer to my dad. Even though she was the one person that was always there for me, no matter what. My dad would say, I'm changing the locks and not giving her a key. And my mom would be like, nope, that's not how it works here. And she got sick, last February, and then March, she was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and she died on August 31st. She had a very short window, no treatment. She had other health problems, and I was the executor of her trust. And I took care of all of her medical and her financial and everything in her life. And, for me, that was a big thing when she asked me to do that for her. She asked me many years ago, about 8 years ago, and I wasn't thinking of anything but like, oh, okay, and I was able to show up for her. And it was hard. It was emotional to see my mom dying, and she was in hospice for 36 hours. And, I'm grateful for my home group because through it all, people called and texted me, and I was a GSR, and I think I told Megan, I need to quit. I can't do this. It's too much for me because it was so emotional for me dealing with all this. It was coming at me every which way. And so I showed up, and the biggest thing was I asked for help. I got to ask for help, and I'm grateful I kept that commitment. And I'd go to the business meeting, and I just try to come up and make a good announcement or engage my group or do what I was, taught to do to be of service, and that saved me. And, when my mom left this world, I was like, oh my God, like I never felt so empty in my life because I got to have a different relationship with her. And then, just the grief of it. And I got to, I remember someone asked me, how are you doing, Tanya? And I said, I feel like I'm going into a depression. And the person said, maybe you need to start working with a newcomer. And then the next week, someone introduced me to a gal, and I've been working with her for the last five months, and it's really saved me. And my commitment on Thursday night. I mean, I just as soon stay home and watch Netflix and be in self-pity, to be really honest. But I wasn't taught that. And, my sobriety is more important than my feelings at that point, because for me, I know that I can't go out. It's not an option. It's a choice, but I don't want to. I will get through the grief. There's nothing that can happen in my life that's going to take me out, but I am eternally grateful for my home group. They checked on me. They brought me food. They, checked on my husband, and I'm grateful for my husband. Every day I'd walk in, he put his arms around me and say, it's going to be all right. I was like, okay, honey. And my friends, my close friends, I have 6 really close friends, and they helped me up, and my sponsor, and, it's my family. My family's getting smaller and smaller, and I know I'll always be a part of AA as long as I show up, and I hope I've carried a message and given some hope. And I love you guys, and I'm grateful for you, and thank you so much. And without further ado, our next speaker is Bob Kate, Pleasant Hill. Okay.
It's Bob Kane for Pleasant Hill. My sponsor called me this morning. Said, Bob, don't get it. I have a tendency to make people try to laugh and stuff like that. So I was very nervous. He said, not there to make them laugh. Tell me what it was like, what happened, what it was like, now how'd you get where you are, and where, how'd you get where you're going? Oh, I can do that. So I'm going to just keep it. There's not going to be a whole lot of laughing going on in this chair. Anyway, I'll qualify myself a little bit. I've been sober for 38 years. You clap. 78 years old, 77, I'm 78 in June. I've been married for 44 years to 4 different women. They're wonderful. Anyway, I got, anybody remember Vietnam? Vietnam around anywhere? Vietnam was crazy. It was insane. They were just taking us up. Well, 18 years old, I go to this draft thing. It was crazy, insane. And I got a machine repair apprenticeship at Ford Motor Company. And I went in to take a test. There were 300 people that were testing. They said, 2 of you are going to make it. 2 of us out of 300. I was one of them. I got a full scholarship, education, classes, work, everything was beautiful. You couldn't beat it. But I also like to drink. I could never make it to school on Monday. And believe it or not, I took a chance on winning, on hitting the lottery rather than go to school. And I couldn't believe it. I did that. But why did I sacrifice this great apprenticeship? And it's one of the most prestigious apprenticeships in the Ford Motor Company. And I could be retired right now and all this stuff. And instead, I decided that I would drink. And that's what I did. I drank. I couldn't stop. I'm 19 years old. I can't stop drinking. What the hell? You know? And so I proceeded to continue to develop a very bad habit of drinking. I drank moonshine. I started with moonshine. I don't start with moonshine. I started with beer. You know? I started with moonshine. I figure out all these guys who used to hunt raccoons, dogs, moonshine guns. They run around in the dark, you know? So we did. I thought that was a good idea. So I did. Anyway, I proceeded to live my life. I thought it was normal. I thought it was a normal life. It's not normal. So I came to the courts. Judge, I got about drunk driving, and judge sent me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, "No, Jesus, I'm not done yet." Anyway, so I went to court, and they used to decide to go 3 days a week to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Okay, I can do that. It was 2 months, 3 days a week, 6 months. And so I started going every day. I'm a smart man. You can tell I'm smart man. Look at me, can't you? I'm really intelligent. And so I started going to court, to AA meetings every single day. Didn't have a job, nothing like that, so why not? And so I went to my probation officer, I get my slip. I got one of those slips you everybody signs. And he said, "You're going every day, huh?" And I said, "Yep, I sure am." He said, "Oh, wow. You really like it?" "I love it, man. It's great." He said, "Good. We'll change your probation every day." Change my probation every day. Maybe you go every day. What the hell are you doing that for? You're supposed to let me off. I did before. You signed me up to go 7 days a week. That's what I did. And something clicked. It clicked. I don't know what happened. I got very lucky because did not intend to come here. Not intend to be here with all you people. Not at all. And here I was. So I proceeded. I jumped through. I didn't go too much of a drug along because there was too much stuff. Too much stuff happened to me. I did too much stuff. It's crazy. I'm really a punk drunk though. Not like a tough drunk. I'm a punk drunk. Punk drunk is like only one DUI. You know, jail, not prison. Things like that. That's a punk drunk. And yeah, I just a punk drunk. That's all. I just drank it. That's what I did. Made everybody like miserable around me. You know, my parents were miserable. My mother would find me on the front lawn, passed out. Just boom. I couldn't make it to the porch. You know, I tried to get to the porch, but I couldn't quite get there. And I passed out on the front lawn. And I didn't think anything of it. She did. So I proceeded to just get married. I married to wife number one. Wife number one helped me get out of the draft. It was one of my draft housing things. If you were married and you didn't have kids, you get draft, you get deferment. If you get married with kids, you got a deferment. I had all these deferments going on. I didn't want to go to Vietnam, but it was still going on. It's crazy. I mean, how long people, I don't know what I did that. That's why I was talking about it. But anyway, so I did not have a good time at that time. But anyway, I just proceeded to drink and live life the way I lived it. And I did my 6 months with the judge. And he let me go. He said, "I'll have my probation. Okay, I'm free to go now. Now I can do what I wanted to." And I wanted to go to AA. I don't know what happened with you, but people did something to me. I didn't want to be here in the first place, but you people did something. I don't know what the hell you did, but you did something. And maybe I liked it. I was such an angry person. I was so angry. Oh my God, I was angry all the time. And it takes so much energy to be angry. It takes a lot of energy to be angry. And somehow I liked what was happening. I liked the person I was becoming. And I've become a beautiful person. I'm incredible. I really am. And I got papers here to prove it too. I was nominated for Citizen of the Year in Pleasant Hill. Citizen of the Year, that's an award and a half. It's incredible. This is all the fireworks here at Pleasant Hill. All the fireworks everybody see on 4th of July, I did them. Did all those. And I don't know. I just had a good life as far as that goes. But my drinking really progressed. My first wife, I don't know why I divorced her. I should have just married her. She should have been the only one. Because she was great. She was, I could drink what I wanted to. So I did. And she let me drink. And she was from Michigan. So she understood that. Michigan drinkers are great drinkers. They work, they can drink. Oh, you got a job, it's okay to drink. And so I would do that. And then I developed some problems in sobriety. I've been sober a long time. And what happened is I developed Parkinson's, which is a kind of a bummer. And, I have trouble walking sometimes, I have trouble standing up sometimes, I have trouble sleeping down sometimes. I have trouble, period. I have a right to be drunk. What I'm trying to tell you, I have a right to be drunk. I do. I'm miserable enough where I can be drunk, but I don't drink because I like being happy. And I am happy. And my life has been great. I mean, I thought I had MS. I didn't. I had PD, Parkinson's, and I thought I had that, and I didn't. I believe attitude of gratitude ever since then. It's not MS. It's only PD. That's great. The Parkinson's is a slow progressive disease. Sometimes it goes too fast, but it's slow progressive disease, and little by little it eats you up. And so that's what I live with. And I actually married a woman with Parkinson's. That's crazy. My second wife was, she's a good woman. I met her here at Alcoholics Anonymous. And she, I can do that in 10 minutes, no problem. I thought for 10 minutes is easy, but I try to make it not laugh, don't laugh. Can't be like that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. My sponsor right now. My whole life has been incredible, to say the least. Did a lot of things. I've climbed Mount Shasta, hiked it to the top, to the very top. That's a lot. Grand Canyon, to the bottom, all the way to the bottom. And Yosemite, John Muir Trail, hiked all these places. Wonderful. And I used to took my ex-wife up to Mount Shasta. That was a great trip. We hiked all the way up to the 4,000 foot level. And then we went tonight and we went up the rest of the way. And I went all the way up and summited. Now, not very many people summit that mountain. There were 150 of us took off that morning, and 7 of us made it. There were 3 of them in my group. And it was a great, great hike. And every time I see that mountain, I just get so full of myself, how wonderful I am. I could do that, So it's funny, but that's what I do. And, but what are you grateful for that kind of mountain? I heard. So my last wife, we were married for 26 years. That's a long time. 26 years. And I had a lot of I have a sponsor really. My sponsor was I sponsored myself a lot of times. Don't do that. It's not worth it. My life has gotten so much easier when I have somebody else to blame besides myself. So I, I did myself sponsor. I mean, I started out with sponsors. I had 14 sponsors when I first got sober. 14. And believe it, I went to a group called the Forum in San Francisco, and they used to bring in one new guy every 6 months. I was a new guy. They'd pick find a guy, and all of them kind of ganged up on him. They told me to shut up, get the con out of your ears, put it in your mouth, and just listen. We'll tell you what wants to speak. That's why I got sober. With a home group, which was incredible. So if you're, do we have any people who are 30 days? How many we got? Gabriel, is him? He's my sponsee, by the way. That's it, huh? Well, I, this home group of mine, they picked one guy up with me and they started working on him. I didn't know they were doing this to me. But I just thought that's what happened. They were brainwashing me. So these guys would all gang up. And they said, I had a job bartending at the time. And I didn't say anything wrong with it. I said, I have a reason to be there. It's something crazy. Don't. And so I had a reason to be there. I had to work for crying out loud, so it was worth it. So I stayed working at bars, and they kept telling me I'm going to go out and drink. They make bets on it. They had a pool, Bob Kelly drinking pool. So anyway, I survived that, and I survived the bar. I actually bought 2 more. But I also opened the anonymous place, so that's kind of interesting, you know. Anonymous place was a spiritual, wonderful place, and the bar was drinking place, which was crazy. And so I I did open the anonymous place. That was fun. So where am I? My sponsors were 14 guys, and they would call me. I'd call them every day. They call me every day. Dr. Earl started this group. It wasn't published. It wasn't published or nothing. They were just weren't allowed to just went in there, do your thing, and you know, it was a different type of. Most people had one sponsor. I had 14 of them. I think I needed more because I was sicker than most people. But anyway, I just have 3 sponsors now. One of them up here, but so I freeze every once in a while. They call it freezing. And Parkinson's is freezing, like you freeze, you can't move, you know? What the hell? Why is that happening? It just happens. It's just part of the deal. The deal with it. I'll be with you in a minute. I got it. And so, anyway, my life in sobriety sober has been incredible. Incredible. My sponsor saved my life. He really did. I mean, him and another guy had team up, took 2 of them to save my life. But I was commit suicide when my 4th wife divorced me. What the hell? You know, I'm a perfectly wonderful person. I'm beautiful, halo, I had a halo, everything. And she got divorced me. What the hell? What's going on here? I had no idea what was going on. So I was going to kill myself. I called a friend of mine, Rick T. Rick, I'm going to take myself out. I can't take this. It's too painful, too scary. I'm taking myself out. He goes, it sounds like a permanent solution to a temporary problem, Bob. Oh, it hit me. I don't know why it hit me, but it hit me. And I still admire this woman very much, but I couldn't believe it, and he clicked me around, and then I said I better get a sponsor because I knew how close I was getting to killing myself. I had all these guns, I took all my guns at the gun store, put my consignment, got rid of. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't take your guns to the gun store, put my consignment. You're not gonna get the money to work. Give me your sponsor, tell them to hold them for you. Yeah. Let him hold your guns for you. Anyway, you die, you get over this, he'll give back to you. Don't sell them like that. Anyway, that's how I learned sobriety. So I just anyway, where was I? Remember Deanna? Okay. I've got a lot of good friends here in Alcoholics Anonymous. So my sponsor saved my life second time. My second one, I found, he chaired a meeting, this guy was talking to God. Oh my God, he talks to God all every day. Couldn't believe it. So this is the guy I need to sponsor me. So I went and asked if he'd be my sponsor. He said, let me think about it. He thought if I went home for a day, came back, he prays to God every time he does, before he makes any decisions like that. I should do that before I get married. He prays to God and he goes, he came back and said, you know what? I'm gonna take you out of the sponsor. I said, okay, cool. And I didn't know he'd have me wake up at 6:40 in the morning every morning. I know that. But every morning I have to call him at 6:40 in the morning. Every morning. I don't work. I have to get up. Yeah, I gotta get up to all right. Good morning. Yeah. How's God today? He's great. So I talk to him every morning and we have our conversation. He puts me in touch with my God. And I say, I tell my sponsor the same thing. Call me every morning, 6:50. We open our connection with God and we're going about our business. That's what I do now. So I do that. And so I talk to my sponsor every day. I meet him once a week, face to face. You can tell when you're lying when you do it face to face. I've lied to him too, many times. He's sitting right here listening to me too. Anyway, I can't tell his name because I'd be bringing his anonymity, so I won't tell that. But 1 minute, that's it. I'm just getting warmed up. So anyway, I've been sober like 40 years, 38 years. It's a great trip, incredible trip. Well, you know how many people here are really close friends of mine? I mean, a lot of people are really close friends of mine. Dear to my heart. Dear to my heart. Just all of these are just beautiful things to have in your life. And I have more stuff coming. I'm not gonna kill myself. I know that. I should be killing myself now. You know, this is peak of my killing myself. This is what it is right here. Parker did the whole bit. Bob, take yourself out, shit. No, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna sit around and make people miserable. I live with my ex-wife. I rent a room for her. I don't pay any rent. And because my kids told her, you got mom, you gotta let dad stay here. Because I don't do so good by myself walking and stuff like that. You gotta let dad stay here. So they had to stay at my ex-wife's house. Well, she's not here, is she? No. And anyway, that's my life. That's what I got. I'm doing good. Dan, I love you too, man. Dan and I had some business together. It was great and fun. Anyway, that's all, people. That's all I got.
All right, one more round of applause for our speakers this evening.